So the peaceful transfer of power at DC Studios to James Gunn officially begins with The Flash. This movie was directed by Andy Muschietti, who brought you both It movies, proving himself a very capable director in his own right with those flicks, and here he is lending his talents to the comic book world. Worlds collide when the Flash uses his superpowers to travel back in time to change the events of the past, namely to save his mother, who had tragically passed away. But when his attempt to save his family inadvertently alters the future, he becomes trapped in a reality in which General Zod, once again played by Shannon, has returned, threatening annihilation, with no other superheroes to turn to since Wonder Woman, Cyborg, and Aquaman are nowhere to be found. The Flash looks to coax a very different Batman out of retirement to rescue an imprisoned Kryptonian, albeit not the one he's looking for. And of course, as it's been hyped up out the wazoo, this Batman is once again played by Keaton, returning to the role that arguably made him famous back in the summer of 1989. God, this summer really feels like it's the year 1989 all over again in the movie world. First of all, Disney has put out a Little Mermaid adaptation. Here we are with Keaton once again playing Batman, and we're getting another Indiana Jones movie, which is kind of christened as the finale to that whole saga. It really does feel like I'm living in a time warp here. But speaking of time warps, The Flash is another comic book movie that deals with the multiverse idea. And early impressions of this movie were just critically acclaiming this thing. Some people like James Gunn and Tom Cruise have said that this is one of the best comic book movies they've ever seen in their lives. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I didn't have fun watching The Flash, but before any of you get mad at me down in the comments section, hear me out and why I'm saying this. I think The Flash is a tad overrated. Hear me out. I gotta say, I really dig the way Andy Muschietti directed this movie. For someone who hadn't really lent his craft to the action genre, he brought his A-game, while not to mention also implementing a lot of the horror elements that he was known for from both It films. Lots of creepy haunted house imagery throughout this film, and I think for the most part, it's a really good-looking movie. Like I said, the DCEU was in desperate need of color even when Zack Snyder was at the helm. And The Flash certainly brings a lot of color, and they pop on the big screen. And I think for the most part, the acting in here is really solid. Keaton, I will tell you, steals the entire movie as Batman/Bruce Wayne. He's not the Bruce Wayne you would expect when you first meet him, and it's really captivating seeing what he actually brings to this role nowadays. Still a freaking badass, and he looks so awesome in the Batsuit. I never in a million years thought that I myself would go to a movie theater and see Keaton don the Batman suit in a big budget superhero movie like this. Like, both of his Batman movies came out before I was even born. So it's really crazy that I'm living in a world where I can actually see Keaton play this part on the big screen. He does really well with it. Shannon is also really intimidating as General Zod once again. Lots of really cool callbacks to Man of Steel and the look of Man of Steel. Which, speaking of, you got Sasha Calle playing Supergirl in here. And she's a freaking badass, man. Really like what they did with her character, and I really like the way they introduced her. Because all it takes really is one shot and one sequence to really feel sorry for her. And when she has to start kicking ass, my God, is she good at it. And believe it or not, I feel like a lot of the multiverse stuff, even though it's stuff you've seen before in the MCU, I think it's explained in a pretty nifty way. And the script gives us a really clever analogy as to how the multiverse actually works in the DC world. But that's just the thing, guys. I don't know if I'm overly fatigued by what Marvel is doing right now, but as I was driving home tonight, I thought about this. Do you guys remember when Joss Whedon brought us the Justice League movie in 2017 and how horrible we all thought that was? You know why we all thought it was so horrible? It's because all these story elements and all these characters felt so incredibly rushed. Cyborg felt like an afterthought. The Flash, even though he was funny in that movie, didn't even have his solo movie come out until 6 years later. What we're talking about right now. Aquaman's solo movie wouldn't even come out until the next year. So everything felt so incredibly rushed when you put everything together. And I think part of that is mainly because, Marvel's doing it, so okay, we gotta compete with them. So yeah, Avengers the out of this. And lo and behold, we did not get a good Justice League movie until we got the Zack Snyder cut and not the studio cut. And you know what, guys? This multiverse idea in the Flash movie, again, it's not the worst idea in the world. If any character is going to introduce the multiverse into the DC, it's the Flash. But the introduction of the multiverse just feels so incredibly forced in the grand scheme of things. Especially because, you know, the MCU is now entering the multiverse saga. They've been in the thick of the multiverse saga for a couple of years now. And now it just kind of feels like DC is jumping on the bandwagon because, oh, Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, those movies are making a ton of money. So, you know, you gotta market the crap out of this multiverse, right? Otherwise, people won't come and see a solo Flash movie. And a lot of those callbacks to the DC world are great. Lots of really cool fan service moments in here, especially involving Michael Keaton. But again, everything just feels so incredibly rushed if you look at the story. Which brings me to this next point that I wanted to bring up. Because the first act of The Flash was a real chore to get through, unfortunately. You have a pretty pedestrian chase sequence where the Flash pretty much has to go to this children's hospital and save all these babies. And the choices that they have Barry Allen make in this whole opening sequence makes him come off so selfish. And the whole reason why he's traveling back in time is to save his mother, even though he has a whole conversation with Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne, who's really good in the movie and the screen time he has. Even though Bruce Wayne is sitting there like, you could really alter the time frame. Don't do this. And I get it. Barry Allen is younger than all the other members of the Justice League. He probably doesn't know any better. That might be a lot of people's arguments. Hell, Tom Holland's Spider-Man was never this selfish. See, if Tom Holland's Spider-Man was as selfish as Barry Allen was in this movie, he would have gotten right back together with MJ at the end of No Way Home. He decides not to pursue her and get back together with her in order to protect her from all the dangers of being Spider-Man. In this context, Barry Allen does not give a damn about the course of the DC Extended Universe. He just wants to go and save his mother just so he can see her again. And I'm sorry, but with the way that that was all written, and especially the performance also, didn't really get me all that into the Flash. Which, God, I wish this was Grant Gustin. Like, this would have made this so much more bearable. Because the actor playing the Flash, Ezra Miller, is not horrible. But considering all the legal trouble that Miller is in right now, it kind of put a bad taste in my mouth. Which I'll give them credit. It's not an easy feat to pull off. Pulling off these scenes pretty much all by yourself. But man, I was sitting there wishing it was Grant Gustin so badly. Also, how can you have a multiverse movie that's paying tribute to all the great DC movies of the past? It's centered around the Flash, and you don't include Grant Gustin at all. Yeah, I know. It really sounds like I despise this movie. And credit to them, I didn't. Like I said, the performances for the most part are solid. Loved seeing Michael Keaton as Batman again. The action sequences are really fun. Andy Muschietti's direction is really freaking great. I love all the little fan service moments that they threw into the mix. And I will say, I'm going to save this part for the spoiler review, which I will actually be announcing sometime soon. But the ending to this movie was one that I never would have guessed. And it had me cracking up. I don't know, guys. This is a universe that is still very much in flux right now, even as James Gunn is starting to take over his daily duties. But I'm sorry, I just thought The Flash was a tad bit overrated. Not as good as a lot of people are saying this movie is. All that in mind, though, I'm going to give The Flash a B-. Because you still have a lot of really solid elements throughout the second and third acts especially. I found myself enjoying it once the inciting incident pretty much occurs and the multiverse is set in motion. But man, those first 20 minutes or so, like, I was not really getting into this thing. And it very much feels heavily like this studio is pretty much bandwagoning off the Marvel success still to this very day. But that might just be me. Let me know what you thought of The Flash down in the comments section below. What is your favorite DC movie of all time? Who do you think is the best Batman? Is it Keaton? Is it Pattinson? Is it Bale? Guys, I love discussing all things in movies and entertainment. This channel is the place to be if you want to discuss all those fun topics along with this great community we've built together. So please do consider becoming a subscriber and join this community today. Tap on that like button as well. Likes really help with the success of the channel and the growth of the channel overall. Guys, stay tuned for more exciting videos very soon and look forward to more jam-packed action this summertime. Y'all are the best. And with all that being said, back talk, commence.